Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Shamia and thank you for joining me on yet another YouTube video. I hope you've clicked that red button and turned it gray, and I hope you've tapped that notification bell so you get notified each and every time I post something new. And since we are already 20 seconds into the video, press that like button because you can see I look fresh, I look beautiful. I have my grandma's duke on, my hair is looking crazy, but you like the content and the clavicle. Come on, wait a minute. Beautiful. So I was watching a YouTube video by one of my uh favorite YouTubers, I suppose, because she talks a lot about reproductive health, sexual reproductive health, and she was talking about her reproductive journey or her pregnancy journey and how she got off the IUD and now they're trying for a baby. Of course, it's old footage that she started showing us this year on her hormone diary series. I will link that down below. And then I started thinking about my own discoveries when it comes to how I would like to parent or why I would not like to parent, and just kind of collecting my thoughts onto one video. So I have a nice little something to look back on in future and to see if I do have children, if I don't have children, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. For a very long time, I've been talking about how I would prefer to adopt, that adoption was um my preferred way of parenting, simply because I felt like there are so many children in the world. I remember at one time there were over 2 million orphans in Zimbabwe, and I just felt drawn to that. Also, when I was in school, when I used to do a lot of service, a lot of charity work, we went to a lot of children's homes, and I saw that there was a need. I felt completely safe and stable. No, that's not what the word. I felt at peace with having these people become parts of my life permanently. So it was always in the works, and I've considered multiple ways of making this happen. But being a woman who doesn't want to get married, and also understanding how difficult adoption as a process is in Zimbabwe, I've had to consider infertility. I've always considered that, to be honest, but I've had to seriously think about that, whether or not it's worth um, carrying a pregnancy myself if I'm capable of adoption and not having children completely. So if you ask anyone, if you look at the details, there's a handful of adoptions that go through each and every year here in Zimbabwe, because the process is difficult and you kind of have to prove a lot, which I find to be actually responsible of the government, because you don't want just anybody walking in to take children, especially when people believe in weird things, sacrifice children. There's a viable child trafficking market in Southern Africa. You don't want to be playing those games. And so, of course, I understand that it's just not convenient for a person like me who seriously considers that as an alternative to carrying a child to term, and also as my way of actually connecting. So there are 5 ways that I could become a parent or not become a parent, I suppose. I could adopt. I could adopt and have biological children. I could simply have biological children, or I could be infertile, and finally I could choose not to even try and have children. So I'm going to start with the most shocking and most controversial one, which is that I could most probably decide not to have children. Whilst I'm drawn to the idea of adopting, and I like the idea of that, I don't know, again, like I've mentioned, that's not really an alternative that's certain, especially in a country like mine. For single women and for just anyone, we don't actually know how the process works. It's a very difficult process to go about, and I think you have to prove yourself a lot more than you might be ready for, which makes the process a lot more difficult. And if you're a married woman like me, there is also the chance that you're going to have to leave your adopted child in the hands of people who aren't very caring, extended family not recognizing them because of the cultural barriers to adoption and all of that. So for me, sometimes I feel like my alternative is not giving birth at all, is not becoming a parent at all, because it's not something that I'm completely drawn to, or that I have a natural inclination towards. I just believe that if it's meant to happen, it will happen. That's kind of the indifference with which I approach parenting. If I happen to have a child, if my adoption comes through and I feel it in my heart that this is the right time for it to happen, and that happens. If I have a child by choice or by chance and I decide to carry it to term, for me, this is, I'm going to excel at it because best believe I put 110%. But these are not things that I plan, I actively plot on my live chat or on my, why is this phone crying? Okay, these are not things that I actively place or in the timeline of events in my life, like how I would go into college, moving to a new country, financial goals, and so forth. That's something that's just in the wind. This could happen, this couldn't. And when it comes to biological children or carrying a child to term, I feel like there are a lot of factors that I'm unaware of, that I can't plot on a graph and see, that I can't work hard to fight against. I could be infertile, I could have conditions that make procreation difficult, that make fertility an issue. And I think when I talk about things like that, I remember when I say to someone, how can you ask me if I want to have children, or when I want to have children, when you don't know if fertility is going to be a thing, for an issue for me, or if it's not going to be? Why actively begin to put pressure? Why approach people with this idea that it's a must and that everybody needs to be doing this thing, without considering that it could be an impossibility since it's basically in the wind? And that's the kind of idea that I come with when it comes to procreation, when it comes to fertility. I believe you shouldn't be asking people about those things. You should, people can have, yes, of course, by yourself, you can have the desire to want these things. There's no harm in saying you want to have children. There's just everything wrong with thinking the next person has to have children, must have children, and fixing your mouth to ask them. That's not something that anybody should be doing. You shouldn't be asking young children. People should be seeing from society that people do happen to have children, and we should be welcoming of children regardless of how they come, whether they're through adoption, whether they're out of wedlock, and whether or not they're family units where the parents are married. I think this is all, that's your role. Your role is to accept children when they've come onto this earth. Asking people and fixing your mouth and your chest and everything to talk to people about what they choose to do with their bodies and their time is of no relevance. And then it comes to choosing to have a combination of biological and adopted children, or just adoption, or just a combination of the two, or either one of the two. That again is these are options that I'm considering, that I feel like time will tell. I believe if I have a biological child and you guys see me pregnant anytime soon, maybe this year, if that happens, if that happens, it's not going to be conclusive of anything. I might still adopt a child or three children, depending on how the Zimbabwean government treats me, and how that works with the social workers, and that I'm fully equipped to pass the rigorous requirements that they need from me, rightfully so. And if I was to begin with my adopted baby, my beautiful adopted baby, it doesn't mean I won't have biological children. I might have a combination. And so this is just what I think when it comes to whether or not I'll have children, how I'll have children, and what I think of doing if I'm infertile, or whatever. I know people hate it. Someone said, I think someone said that was negative, but I don't think infertility is such a terrible thing to the point where we must be cautioned against saying those things as if we're bringing on bad ill will unto ourselves. It should be a natural process of life, the same way we understand that some people have kinky hair and some people have straight hair. It's a fact of life that we should be comfortable with, comfortable discussing. And I know like people like Ginny Mai who've opted not to have children continuously face gaslighting from people who want to tell them how they should have lived their life, how much they're not living fulfilling life simply because they don't have children. And if your life was so fulfilling, why would you be going on knocking on your neighbor's door so you can spend the whole time boasting about how amazing and fulfilling your life is instead of living it where you live? I just feel like it's not logical. So that's my case. We shall see if I have babies, if I don't, if I'm infertile, if I'm not. And if this channel still exists, I will definitely share this as time goes on, and I can't wait to continuously update this maybe every couple of years so that we see where I'm at. And yeah.